Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back. Actually, no, not really welcome back. I'm sorry. I'm so used to getting reacquainted with my viewers, reacquainted with the people that are watching me right now. So with that being said, however, welcome to our Perry Mason episode reviews for this HBO miniseries that has just started up tonight when I'm recording this. Yesterday, if you're watching this, day one. And then basically, if you're just watching the show, it's episode one. So let's give a little background on this because this is the first time I'm doing this sort of thing. I never reviewed an HBO product, an HBO show. Well, in terms of episode by episode basis, I have done sort of commentary on Game of Thrones and Westworld, and I kind of had an idea of what the quality that HBO has been reaching for. Also, I apologize if I'm putting on my glasses at the time because I'm looking at the camera and I can't see one of my glasses, and I don't like my glasses on camera anymore. I prefer without them. So, but anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Perry Mason. So, I have done many series on this series before. What's in the Tube is ActionX's premiere television review or commentary, or just basically I review something TV related each and every episode of the overall show, whether it is doing episode reviews, which I started out doing with The Rookie, Nancy Drew, and High School Musical, the music of the series, and we have now delved into a whole new area where we're doing Stargirl, and then we're about to do Doom Patrol Season 2. So just to give you some of my credentials so you know what I'm getting into, this isn't my first rodeo doing somewhat of a mystery-esque show. I have done the entire first season of Nancy Drew, which I'm very well aware, if you're an HBO fanatic, that, oh my god, you reviewed a CW mystery show? What is wrong with you? Well, it's pretty good. Check it out. It's free. Actually, not anymore. I think it's on HBO Max. Is that on HBO Max? I don't know where it's tied up, because it used to be so simple that all the CW shows were grouped into oh, everything's on Netflix after it's premiered season finale. Now it's it's all over the place. So sorry if I don't exactly remember where Nancy Drew ended up. I think it is HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's where all the Warner Media products go to. But anyway, so I have some familiarity in the mystery zone before. I've always loved mysteries, especially in the world of television and in movies. I don't know why, it's something growing up kind of clicked in me, trying to discover the truth of something, trying to solve a mystery. And I akin it to when I was doing the Nancy Drew stuff. Akin to more to Scooby-Doo as a kid. I feel like Perry Mason kind of the reason why it spoke out to me personally was because of Sherlock Holmes. And no, I'm not talking about Sherlock, the series with Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm talking about Sherlock Holmes, the movies with Robert Downey Jr., which coincidentally, this series is produced by Team Downey, as well, who their lead members are Robert Downey Jr. and his wife Susan Downey. And ironically, while I was doing research on the show, and also I apologize, I'm playing with my hair a lot because I gotta get a haircut soon. Thankfully, my city's opening up the barbershops again very soon, so I'll get another fresh haircut. I haven't gotten a haircut in I want to say 4 or 5 months, before, so it's been a while. But anyway, so back to Perry Mason. So, and ironically, RDJ was going to play Perry Mason, but he had to drop out because I think there was a scheduling conflict, which was kind of weird because I was so wait, if production on this show was in 2019, I'm presuming, they didn't release official information when this was filmed. It was either probably the Endgame premiere tour, or probably filming that Doolittle film, which critically bombed, and commercially bombed too. So not the finest choice for RDJ, but honestly, in my opinion, I mean, even for me, making the connection between I know these are two very different characters, but however, at least for me, the reason why it was this could be up my alley for Perry Mason as well as to do episode reviews on this is that it's a mystery piece. We're solving a mystery here. Our lead character Perry Mason is trying to solve a case, and I think it works out better because RDJ had already played this guy who basically has this innate ability to solve crimes or something like that, and we've seen that in 2 movies, thankfully a third one next year, hopefully. So I feel like the recasting actually turned out to be in the benefit of the show's favor. Now, talking about all that backstory out of the way, what was my opinion on the series premiere, Perry Mason? Honestly, I thought it was pretty good. I had very little expectations for this show because, again, I have no real inkling towards anyone in terms of the cast. I do not know who Matthew Rhys is. I know he's an Emmy Award-winning actor. I know that much, but beyond that, I really don't know anything else about him as being an actor in his other work. I'd never seen him before, but the only other two actors that I know from this show, and that's part of the main cast, is E.B., who he was in a couple of comedy films I watched growing up. I don't remember exactly which ones they were on top of my head, but I know that he looks familiar. And then also there is the Pete character he was played by an actor who played one of the detectives who was in Joker last year. So that was another familiar face that I've noticed. But other than that, this cast is entirely wholly some brand new to me. So I really can't wait to see what their whole acting chops will be once we wrap this up. And also, it's kind of weird for me to be reviewing a miniseries. Kind of like this is a closed story, like that's it, done. But hopefully, maybe this show will get popular enough to get a season 2. Maybe just say, no, it's not a miniseries anymore. We'll get more seasons. But I think from the sound of it, this is going to be a one-off. But who knows? Let's see how it goes. Anyway, back to my overall impressions, Chapter 1 or Episode 1. I really enjoyed it. I really did. Again, this is Episode 1 of any show. The whole point is to sell you on introduce you to this world, sell you on the characters, and begin telling you the story. Those are like 3 major things that a show's pilot or first episode needs to do in order to entice you. And because remember, despite this being like 8 episodes, it's still 8 hours of your time. This is a show with no commercial breaks. There's no like, okay, I can take a break here, I can take a breather here, get a drink of water, something. No, you got to be invested like a movie. Like you cannot get off your seat to do anything. And that was kind of like one of the reasons why I was kind of like hesitant on doing an HBO show for the longest time. Yeah, because even though I've only started this series of reviews back in September, even that was like I'm not 100% ready to tackle that on. But now having all this experience and sitting down and watching hundreds and hundreds of hours of television by this point, both for off camera and on camera, I feel like I was finally ready to tackle this on. And honestly, it kept me invested throughout the whole ride. I feel like there was just moments in this episode where, especially in this one, was like, okay, I want to see what they do next. I want to see, these characters. I want to see them. Because, again, this is an introductory episode. Like, we're learning as we go here and, setting the foundation. And I'm pretty sure episode 2 will be someone like that. Because I don't think we met one of the characters that's going to be a prominent part in the series. So, with that being said, let's go through this chapter and see. You can all hear my thoughts on it step by step in a segment for you newcomers that I like to call the Butchered Recap, where basically it's basically my way of telling you guys go watch the episode because I cannot do this justice. I'm going to do my damn best to remember everything I've seen in this episode, even though I just literally wrapped the project. I literally wrapped the episode like a moment ago. Still, I'm not going to remember everything. So please watch the episode before you see this one, as well as this will contain spoilers. So with that being said, let's go. So we begin the show, this episode, in LA in the 1930s, the Great Depression, which ironically, when I was in university, my last semester, I took a contemporary history class, and one of our topics was the Great Depression. I never really understood what that meant. I always thought it was like doom and gloom and such like that, which it really is. But apparently, according to history, LA was kind of like the bustling area. Apparently, it was the most better off out of everyone else that was trying to accommodate with the Great Depression and everything. So that's where our setting is. We see this young couple on the phone, very much anxiously talking to someone. And eventually we figure out that, their son's being held hostage. They have to deliver this this typical cliche suitcase full of money to get the child back. Once that's been verified by the supposed what was the terminology? The criminal, the kidnapper, the kidnapper. Then they're going to release the son. Which is it's a baby. I mean, come on. You do not drag babies into your conflicts of crime. I mean, I think that's the one thing. I mean, I know, we have the typical, females are put into peril, even in that time period, as well as, men being held hostage or stuff like that. But you don't bring a baby. A baby is the kind of the number one, do not touch stone. next to dogs and cats, but that's another thing. So anyway, they once this kidnapper gets view of the money and the suitcase, he lets the parents see the kid that's traveling on this weird trolley cart that's like going, you know, like at an angle, so to speak. So the parents get to see the child in the blanket. So they get happy. They get, you know, very anxious to go see him. So they run all the way down this apartment building. They head back on the surface street. They catch up with the car. They go inside. For the brief moment, the mom is holding the baby, like, oh, thank God, we found the baby. So I was like, wait a minute. No, something's wrong here. This cannot be a simple, like, oh, we're just holding your baby for money ransom, and then after that, we're going to let you guys go. It's nothing like that. It's never like that. And it turns out, yes, there was another thing. The baby is sadly dead. And in one of, like, again, I just said this before, like, you don't mess with babies, you know, in terms of kidnapping them. When you kill a baby, it's like, you've gone too far. No matter what your motivations are, I hate you. I hate you. Like, no matter what. You don't mess with a young child. You don't mess with them. I don't understand what is wrong with these criminals, especially in the 1930s. I know those are desperate times, but that does not mean you drag children into your quest to get money. It just doesn't. And the most shocking way, which honestly, like, really, like, you know, put me in perspective on this entire show, like, already off the bat, was that it wasn't just, like, this kid was, you know, was killed. It was that, his eyelids were kind of like sewed shut, like to the owl. That actually hurt me. They were sewed upwards so that it wouldn't blink. So could that have been the method they killed the baby? I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure they released the autopsy report at some point in the episode, but that slipped my mind. So while the parents are consoling the grief of their, you know, lost child, trying to figure out what the fuck do we do now, we cut to a unspecific diner across another unspecific area of LA, where we see our main title character, Perry Mason, enjoying some breakfast and night. I guess. I don't know how diners work. I mean, I ironically went to a diner before the pandemic hit, but still weird. When he's talking to Pete, they're apparently staking out they're staking out someone for their current client, which turns out this guy is a comedian named Chubby. They're staking him out to try and get some proof, trying to get some evidence that this guy's been, like, it's weird how, like, again, it's another thing, like, I don't understand the time period, and I don't understand how contracts work, I guess, but this is apparently a clause. Like, apparently, the star of your, like, your main actor, your main comedian, they can't have sex with anyone to elicit, or they can't just have sex, period. I don't know what the reasoning was, but basically if this guy had sex with anyone, like, then that's it, that this guy's out of his contract. And that's what Perry and his friend Pete are here for. They're trying to find evidence. They've been trailing him for 3 days. Eventually they start following him. They get a move on him. The shadow fell in the background, so I got really scared what that was. Where was I? Oh yeah, so they're in the car. They're kind of like, you know, dicking around and whatever while following this guy. Just trying to find. Oh no! There was a funny aside where he goes. This guy, the comedian Chubby, he goes into a movie theater, a silent movie theater. It's like, oh my god, silent black and white films were something I personally never even gotten into. But it's like there was an entire theater like this growing in that time period, which was like, wow. Thank God we've come so long. I don't think I would have survived that era specifically for me. And then they're trailing him in a very old 1930s truck. Eventually they catch him driving to this very weird neighborhood. Not weird neighborhood, but like a typical neighborhood, and he's greeted by this very, very attractive, like, woman. Obviously, they kind of have an idea, like, oh, this is it. This is what we're looking for. While Pete was very anxious to be the one to get the pictures, it has to be Perry to get this one because he's the star of our show. He has to be the one getting in there. And yes, as you can assume, Chubby and this woman are preparing themselves for sex by dropping food. Oh my god, I don't even explain this either. This is one of the 3 scenes. Like, I already finished the baby scene. There are 2. This is the second scene I was kind of like trying to debate. Like, how would I talk about this? Let's just say, like, oh god, I can't even speak. How do I phrase it? The Chubby is preparing the woman, with the woman using food items on the table to entice him to prepare her good. And I will never, ever, ever say that sentence again. Oh my god. But anyway, Perry gets the proof he needs. He gets multiple pictures of this, the man and the girl, of Chubby and this other girl, And then, as chameleons may, he gets caught. He runs away. And Chubby honestly does the most very rational male thing to do when he's, discovered in a sex scandal, red-handedly. He runs onto the street with no underwear. And keep in mind, I forgot to say this. Obviously, this comedian's name is Chubby. And no, that's not like being a offensive thing. He's actually chubby, overweight. And this guy's he's embracing it. And his, fuck, this might be okay, 3.5 things I was kind of debating on not talking about in this review. Oh god, I'll say that I'm very, I can't even say it, it's very, fitting, it's very nice that even a guy of his stature can still embrace his wee side. Okay, that's it. I'm not trailing back. But anyway, Perry and Pete get away. They got the proof they need, and then we cut to the next morning where Perry's returning home, but he's meeting with some issues on the front gate because there's apparently some sort of there's a gate patrol apparently to get into his house, which is like, does he live in a gated community? Like, I highly doubt a detective or anyone of that matter can even survive in get an affordable enclosed area in the 1930s. But no, it turns out his house is conveniently located in an air hangar because his family, the Masons, had owned a farm growing up, and Perry has decided to take it over. However, the rest of the land was bought out by I think this pilot who established her what was that what was it her hangars there, her air yard hangars there, and he's being met with some resistance since they wanted to sell, they want to get the full land, but he's being stuck up and is refusing to do so. So we go to his house. We kind of see a brief bits about his personal life. Like, he gets this return package, which is a weird one, but it turns out to be a return to sender package from it turns out to be, it was meant for his kid, but it got returned supposedly because of the mother. Also, Perry basically is divorced and has a kid, but they're no longer living anywhere near him. But Perry goes back in his house, very much tired out from the night before, and he notices that one of his cows has gotten out of the farmhouse, and he goes to corral him back up. He has this weird looking interaction with this with one of the pilots, one of the female pilots. Kind of does he have a thing for her? Does she have a thing for him? I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. And Perry does some typical farm work in his suit. He gets that all done, and then eventually he passes out on his couch where he is visited by E.B., a fellow lawyer friend of his family who's also his friend that usually would give him some leads on some potential jobs if his services are required. And while Perry's initially no, I'm not interested. I got this. I got a payday collect for the photos I taken. Plus, I'm scheduled to appear in court very soon, so I ain't got time for your opportunity or something. However, EB does entice him. Like, hey, listen, man, this is a really good job. It's a really important job. You need to be at this location at 3:00. So Perry somewhat submits in a way. We see him pay a couple of stops before we get to that meeting, where he visits the contractor for the pictures he's taken of the comedian. For the pictures, he's very happy that Perry got the pictures, and then Perry also shows him that, hey, listen, I also got these other pictures of one of your up and comers, being the one being very aroused by Chubby. So it would be very defamable imagery if this pictures got out and kind of ruins your up and star cover. That's when the boss kind of changes his tune, where it's like, oof, you should not have done that. And also Perry asked for $500-$600, so it's like, oof, you shouldn't have done that, Perry. And he says I'm gonna speak to my boss about this. He's gonna have some words for you about this soon. Enough. And then we cut to this morgue, where it's kind of weird. It's well, this isn't a court building, so what the hell is he doing here? Apparently he's looking for a new tie, because he doesn't have the best suit combo, so he only has the one tie, the one attire and everything, so he's trying to find a better tie for his ensemble. He's talking to the mortician, and what we don't know yet is that this mortician is responsible for taking care of the autopsy of the baby, but however, it's not important yet to Perry, so he doesn't pay mind to it. He gets the tie, pays him some coins, and he heads out to court to be this not star witness, but this expert testimony in another unrelated case we'll have no interest to. But when we get there, we see Perry kind of butting heads with the prosecutor, trying to discredit him. That like, hey, this guy was also like, this guy has been charged on assault because he actually beat up one of the owners of the air hangers that was trying to buy him out. But even though the assault charge was literally like him throwing cow shit at him, so whatever. And also that he had a very dishonorable discharge from the army during World War One. So basically, this lawyer is trying his damn best to try and disprove Perry's testimony and everything. But eventually, Perry gets distracted by the arrival of EB's assistant, which completely forgot the name. I'm sorry. Another thing you should know about me is that I will forget names. I do not do well with names. It takes me a long time for me to remember anyone's name. So I will remember this person's name if she shows up more. But as of now, like my brain is like already at max capacity. So Perry, the assistant, and EB meet the prospective client, which turns out to be the leader of this specific religious group. It turns out two of their members, the parents from the beginning of the episode, had just experienced a hardship, and they're trying to figure out who did this, who was responsible. And this guy wants to help them out. However, he doesn't trust the police department. He doesn't trust anyone. So he wants to go for a private detective who are very neutral, have no affiliation with any sort of like corrupted, organizations or anything. So they want Perry for the job. Perry agrees to do it. We cut to the house of the couple who are already being interrogated by the detectives who are kind of already setting up this imagery and this, angle of the case. It's like, oh, the parents are responsible for this. The parents are being unhappy. The dad especially is being, very personally attacked that he's being accused of doing this to his own son. Perry's just taking note of this in the background, just minding his own business. Eventually, they managed to get the interrogation settled down a little bit as the dad kind of like really went too hot-headed. Perry heads upstairs to the to see the wife, who's kind of still like in the state of shock from the loss of her son. He goes into the child's room, trying to get pictures of it, and then the wife manages to kind of break out of her shock and goes to talk to Perry about the son, about they're trying to talk about his son, some stuff like that to kind of get some. Okay. Oh, my hour mark was up. Well, my hour mark was up, so I apologize if you see like I'm gonna turn off the thing. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, so they're talking about this. The wife, the mother, brings up the fact that, oh, my son loved turtles so much. And eventually Perry manages to get out of there. I don't know where we went from here next. I think we... Oh, no. We head back to the law office of EB. They're kind of like wrapping up their first day on the case, trying to figuring out the parents' word in this, trying to figure out, like, who do we got so far. Detectiving 101, but basically... Perry's also, kind of pretty much agreeing with the detectives for a little bit because regardless of shadiness and, corruptionness aside, even as a basic detective, like the amount of research and, surveillance a potential criminal would have to do to like figure out what was the father's schedule at his job, what was the mother's schedule taking care of the baby, when the mother would fall asleep, when the baby would fall asleep, all those sort of like increments. The most easiest way for this to happen is to, as well as know about the family's finances and the easiness to be able to get $100,000, like that. And basically, it would just be more easy to like assume that, yeah, probably there was someone on the inside, which in this case could be either one of the parents, which, of course, honestly is a bit shrewd, but honestly, it is a plausible theory. We don't know just yet. Then I think after that, Evie orders Perry to like, hey, listen, man, I need you to go to this location tomorrow in the morning, which I think it was the apartment building. I think of it. Perry's asking for time and a half because it's New Year's Eve, which Evie agrees. So basically, things are just progressing on. We're taking the night off. Or before we can eventually move on to the next day, Perry has a little sexual trized with the pilot, the female pilot we were seeing before when we got to the farm. Turns out they're in a sexual trized. They're basically screw buddies, friends with benefits, compadres with benefit. I don't know what the terminology would be for them. This was a very weirdly dragged out sex scene where it's like we're seeing this couple in very different positions, um, very much in the heat of the moment, and you know, it was in the last moment where they turn to the side of the wall, which is like a whole new thing for me that I've never seen before, and the corner bed just gets shifted to the left as Perry just goes down, eventually to his last thing I'll talk about. His dick is out of her, and like she's like, okay, we're done, and she's about to start heading out. Perry tells her about the Casey's working. She's trying to buy him out of his house and the farm and the land, but Barry's like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. And then I believe we cut to the next day where we have Perry was heading to the apartment building. He talks to one of the traffic cops who was at the trolley that night, giving him some information, pointing him to the apartment building, stuff like that, where potentially the couple was at when they were doing the whole interrogation, transferring of the money scene. Perry heads up there, gets cornered by the same two detectives who were at the house earlier. One of the detectives was very bullish to try and get Perry arrested and trying to like get him out of the way. The other detective's like, nah, man, he's good. Don't worry about it. Trying to calm him down and everything. Comparing notes a little bit, stuff like that. Perry's like once again one-upping the cops, like giving him another piece of information that they didn't even bother to like check out. And where did we go from here? I think did we head to the we head back to the morgue, where Perry is finally going to go see the baby himself. And honestly, this scene alone was like, I understand why Matthew Rhys was an Emmy Award-winning actor, because like, this guy didn't even have to speak that much. He didn't have to speak at all, and you saw in his facial expression and his eyes, like, what the fuck? Like, who would do this to this baby? And the most like, I think the part that really like kind of pushed it over the edge was like he needed a piece of the stitch mark, so he had to pull out one of the strings from the eyelids, and it was like, oh god, I feel so sorry for this baby, and screw whoever did this. So Perry gets the piece of evidence. Then we get to this New Year's Eve party that Pete invited him to, as well as this is the meeting location for the boss for the photos. So they're enjoying their time, and then eventually Perry gets called over to meet the boss. Turns out the boss isn't so happy that Perry's like literally was kind of blackmailing him into like giving him more money than the agreed upon 200. So after some banter, he does agree to give him some money, only $1 of the original 200, and for good measure to kind of like not screw him over anymore. He takes a gun and he burns the tip of it and he puts it against Perry's chest, which honestly, the reaction scene where Perry's holding it in until they all leave the room, and then he was like, fuck, god, that must have hurt like a bitch. And then Perry heads back out there, meets up with Pete, tells him the bad news that, hey man, we only got $1. And Pete's obviously destroyed because like he was promised a certain cut. He's got a family to pay. He's got a family to feed, and then some random woman kisses him. So it's like, what up to that family, man? What up to that family? And then he kind of like curses out Perry as Perry's like kind of distraught about the whole incident. Meanwhile, we cut to this very shady part of LA where we see this very shady corner of LA, and we see some typical like there's the evil guy, and then there's like this shady guy who's probably like a double crosser or something. And then we see the dad. Like, the dad was there. It's like, oh my god, everyone was right. Like, this was an inside job. And this dad's, like, kind of, like, very, like, on edge because, like, he's waiting for the money. And it's like, this guy, what the fuck? Like, I hate this guy now. Because, like, you literally sold out your own son for fucking money. And what actually was justice slash, karma was that the guy who was supposed to be showing up with the money, he shoots everyone. Kills 2 of them, but the dad manages to get away for a little bit. And it's a brief chase scene where like, the dad's not really even putting any effort to trying and running away. And then he has to go on the rooftop to kind of like jump to the next building. And he manages to like get his hands on the next building, but then it's with his busted up arm, which was already shot. He couldn't sustain himself, and he falls down the building and gets killed. Dies of the fall damage. And now this is going to escalate to a whole bigger piece. We cut back to Perry's house where he's obviously drunk. He's the pilot is there. he's trying to call his ex-wife to kind of speak to his son, but she's not having it because, like, hey, you haven't been paying child support at all, and as well as, you know, he's already asleep. Perry, obviously being too drunk, is like, hey, put my son on the phone, man. It's New Year's Eve. I want to speak to him, but she hangs up, and he's trying to call her back. He's very enraged by the whole thing. The pilot's trying to calm him down, trying to, like, kind of console him a little bit, but Perry's not really having it. Eventually, Perry just blows up and destroys his son's planned Christmas present. And then I think that's when the pilot leaves because she has to go on a run the next day. So she leaves him alone. And Perry basically is already, like, he's doing the typical, like, drunk thing where it's like he's just giving up on everything. He's just throwing everything in, you know, anger. And then he returns back to the actual case itself and decides to focus on the case itself and trying to, like, actually figure out what really happened here. And that's where we end the first chapter. But yeah, I honestly really did enjoy this. I feel like all these characters are very interesting, very likable. I can't wait to see how this journey continues. And I really hope we don't get any more awkward sex scenes. I think this one was like, okay, we got 2 already. I don't need a 3rd one. I mean, we can go the entire rest of the series and not get a single more weird sex scene or another sex scene that I have to comment on. So please, let's make sure that never happens again. Let's just make sure. I'm very curious on the mystery so far. So I'm very curious, like, who would do this to a baby? Why did the dad do this? And this isn't even like when I was doing the Nancy Drew episode reviews, I had this, like, Joe's Mystery Corner. It's been a while since I did this. Where I would try to figure out who killed this person. We kind of know why the baby was killed. Well, we don't know. Like, we know who probably killed the baby, but why is the question. So I can't really do a Mystery Corner this time around because, like, we already know the responsible parties, but we just don't know who... why the purpose of it was. And I swear to God, if we get a flashback scene when we see the baby, I highly doubt that it's ever going to go on the air. I highly doubt it. But if we do get that scene, I might have to tap out. But hopefully that'll never happen. But in my opinion, 2 thumbs up in my books. Episode 1 of Perry Mason, off to a bomb, banger start. Can't wait to see how the rest of this story goes. Can't wait to see how it continues next week as we come back on with chapter 2. I think I said all the bases there. Again, major props to Matthew Reese for that scene where with his reaction. Hands down, already best scene in the show already. And I think that's gonna do it for me, guys. So if you were unaware, this was What's on the Tube from ActionX. If you want to know what we're doing overall on What's on the Tube, we do DC Stargirl episode review each and every Friday after a brand new episode on Monday on DC Universe, the streaming service. And on Tuesday nights on the CW, or you can catch them for free on the CW app or CW.com on Wednesday. So basically, you have no excuse to not see the Stargirl episode, which is a really damn good series. It's really improving its game each and every week. We're about to start Doom Patrol Season 2 episode reviews starting this Saturday after its brand new episode and premiere on HBO Max. But apparently, they just announced they're going to premiere the whole first 3 episodes for free on YouTube. Or I think somewhere for free tomorrow, but I won't be able to review them until Saturday, so tough breaks here. But if you only care about Perry Mason, then we still got more to come. The next Perry Mason episode reviews will be coming out each and every Monday after a brand new episode on HBO every Sunday night. So stay tuned for that. So for you, I gotta figure out what's going to be the terminology, because like I had like this and like hashtag like name for the people who watch the show. Like, I don't know what this one's gonna be. I don't know. The Masoners? Is that a word? My phone's too far away for me to check, so I'm sorry. I'll check that back next week. But again, if you want to, this was What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of What's in the Tube, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube. Ring the bell for notification when we have the next Perry Mason review. Like, favorite, share if you want to, but it does really help us out in the long run, as well as follow us on social media to be up to date on stuff on the channel and such. And I'll see you, Masoners. I'll clarify that next week, guys. I'll clarify that next week, because I'm really not gonna go shrewd on this for like 7 more weeks. Well, 8 more weeks. We're gonna count the overall review at the end. So 8 more weeks. But yeah, it's gonna do for me, guys. Stay safe, be good to each other, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.